Hey guys, I'm going to talk to you quickly, and I mean quickly this time, about the Byzantine Empire. And so, what you really need to know is it is the eastern half of the Roman Empire, and it is going to continue long after the western part, the part with Rome, is gone. Um, and so, you can trace its beginnings, if you need to do that, to when Rome moved the capital to the city of Byzantium, which they're going to rename Constantinople. Um, Rome will eventually be, the Roman Empire will eventually be divided in half, and the western part will fall in 476 rather famously, and you get another 1,000 years really of the eastern part being a very influential empire. This depicts the division, just so you can kind of see it on a map. You can kind of see, if you see where Byzantium is located, it is kind of the key to the trade that comes from the east through the Black Sea into the Mediterranean Sea. And so that city became very rich, being able to control that trade. Here's the key man, a key Roman emperor. He is going to do a couple things that really impact the eastern part of the empire. He is going to convert to Christianity, but separately, he is going to move the capital from Rome to Byzantium and call it Constantinople, because if your name is Constantine, that's of course what you would name something. But it's a big deal. And it also, as Christianity becomes bigger and bigger in the Roman Empire, he moving to the east helps Christianity take over that part of the world. Why move to Constantinople? I mentioned one reason. It's the control of trade that comes through the Bosporus Strait there, but it is also much easier to defend. And they are going to create in Constantinople a city that seemed impenetrable, with walls and defenses that, it's far safer than Rome was at the time, to make it simple. These depict the walls. You will probably at some point see a video or two about the walls of Constantinople. And it was really a very protected city, and it's going to take some pretty advanced, weaponry to eventually take Constantinople. You only really have to know one person from the Byzantine Empire. Bells. Justinian is the greatest, he's the most important Byzantine emperor. He and his wife are really going to be quite a team, and I'll talk about her in half a second when you see her face. But he's going to do a couple things. He's going to expand the Byzantine Empire to make it almost as big as the Roman Empire was at its height. He is going to create a law code that really improves the Roman law code of the time. And the great building of the Byzantine Empire is the Hagia Sophia. And he is going to have it built in its present form. I mean, it was destroyed, and he's going to have it rebuilt. And so the Hagia Sophia is his creation. And, you can't see the modern city of Istanbul without seeing the Hagia Sophia. It dominates, the skyline. You can see it from all parts of the city. But Justinian's the name you have to know. He's a big deal. Will I go backwards? I don't know. I don't want to go backwards. Sorry, dragons. You're not dragons, some of you. Sorry, people. There's the Hagia Sophia. It is a mosque today. But if you think domes are, a Roman architecture, the Hagia Sophia is like an endless series of domes and one ginormous dome. It is pretty impressive. For a long time, it's the largest dome in the world. This is obvious, something you should definitely know. When the city falls to the Ottoman Turks, they are going to turn this great cathedral into a mosque. but it is still there. And if you ever see a reporter reporting from Istanbul, you'll see the Hagia Sophia somewhere in the background. There's the inside. It is an amazing thing. It looks like the dome is just kind of hanging in the air. All right, there is Theodora, Justinian's wife. She is controversial, was really controversial. Justinian was not supposed to marry somebody of her social status. She was an actress and accused of being a lot of other things, and it was illegal for him to marry her. But he was pretty enamored with her beauty, and she's supposed to be a genius. And she really kind of ran a lot of the show for him. She was his top advisor. She's going to refuse to let him leave the city when there's a revolt, and he's going to stay in charge. But between the two of them, they're really going to, they'll improve on the Roman law code. Things are going to be, she's going to make sure things are a little more fair for women, things like that. But she's a big deal. She really is. And she's somebody who rose from having nothing, from being the bottom of society to being the very, very top. All right, what's going to happen is you are going to have the church, as it was always called, break into two parts. And in the western part, you will have the Roman Catholic Church, and the eastern part, the Eastern Orthodox Church. The church is the most powerful thing in Europe during the Middle Ages, but it's a little weaker by this division. And so you have both Christian churches, but they had differences. And so here's a list of the differences. But basically, the Eastern one's in Greek, the Roman one is in Latin. They have different leaders. They have different ideas on whether, priests should get married. So it's a division of the church. That's really what you need to know, the Great Schism. The fall of Constantinople. Constantinople seemed like one of those places that could never be taken. It was just known as the city. And so when the Ottoman Turks finally overwhelm Constantinople, the city of Constantinople will then be known as Istanbul. The Hagia Sophia is there, but you see, the changes made to it to make it a mosque. It was a museum for a while, but the Turks have just, the country of Turkey has just moved to make it a mosque again instead of a museum. It still has a lot of the great artwork, a lot of the Byzantine mosaics. There's very, very famous mosaics of Jesus inside the Hagia Sophia that you'll see a lot. It's an impressive structure, and it is the great building in the great city. So some influence of the Byzantine Empire. The architecture, you'll see the real influence of the Byzantine Empire when you go to Russia, if you go to Russia, or we talk about Russia in class. The mosaics are their famous art form, and the alphabet. That alphabet, is what you will see in Russia. And so the Byzantine Empire has a big influence on what, Russia becomes. And so all these things you should know, but if you don't really know them, it's okay. The Byzantine Empire is going to really preserve all the great knowledge that the Romans had, and most, Roman Greek knowledge. They are going to be a Christian empire for a long time and help spread Christianity. And they'll make, Constantinople the great city in the world. That's kind of enough to know, probably. Hope everybody's doing great, and let me go back to my nonsense. I'll see you all.